Hi, hello, and welcome to the Serene View. I'm Serene Singh, your host of the Serene View. And as you know, we've been talking a lot about workplace mental health, which is one of the big aspects of conscious business that I think is, the one issue that organizations face the most right now. And today with me is who I consider to be the foremost guru of service in the world, Mr. Ron Kaufman. Welcome, Ron. Welcome.
Hi, Serene. It's a pleasure to be with you, an old friend, and all of your viewers and listeners all over the world.
Well, Ron, as we all know, you are the New York Times best-selling author. I think you've had 15 books, and also that you are a global keynote speaker. You're the founder of Uplifting service. Do you want to give a little bit of an introduction about yourself, a little bit of your background?
Sure. I grew up in the United States. I'm too small to play any major team sport, but I was very fortunate to be alive right as the sport called ultimate frisbee was being created. I discovered it in my high school, second one in the world to know the rules, took it on to college, took it on to Europe, took it on around the world, ended up being in the Ultimate Frisbee Hall of Fame as a Johnny Appleseed. And the reason I say I'm so fortunate is the spirit of the game itself is rule one in the sport, no referees, which means the people on the field are responsible for the quality of play. And that spirit has been with me all my life. 30 years ago, the country of Singapore invited me to come here to help work on a national service quality improvement project. I got involved in the curriculum development, became the nation's master trainer, did a lot of train the trainer work. And then one thing led to another, and I spent 29 years on airplanes doing 100 flights a year to offer keynotes and workshops and seminars all over the world. And then along came COVID, and COVID said, settle down, young man. Not so young anymore after being here for 30 years. And for the past year and a half, I've been right here in my home country, adopted home country of Singapore.
See, well, Johnson is here with us. He says, hi, Ron. Hi, Johnson. Yes. And today we are here with Ron here, and we are talking to him about workplace mental health. Now, a lot of you were thinking, why Ron? Because there's a whole bunch of research about how employee experience directly relates to customer experience and how you should treat your employees as your most valuable customers. So the first question I really want to ask you, Ron, is what do you think? I mean, why do you think working, worsens our mental health? Shouldn't it improve our mental? Why does it worsen it?
Well, I'm not sure that I agree with what it is that you're suggesting, that working by itself does worsen mental health. There are quite a few people on the planet right now who are extraordinarily rich, and they don't work, and they're atrociously depressed and addicted and, involved in broken lives. And we read about it in the paper from time to time. So I'm not sure that working itself in any way damages mental health. I think the bigger question is, what are you working on? What are you committed to? What is the commitment, the outcome, the objective, the care, the concern that you have for other people in the world? When you're doing that, as hard as you may be working, whoever you may be working with, I think that actually builds your mental health. So the issue is not so much the organizations themselves as what people are choosing to do with their lives.
I think I got to agree with you. I mean, I know many people who enjoy their work and so on, but across the board, statistically, the vast majority of us don't. So, I mean, whose job is it to make us happy? I mean, why?
Whoa. Listen to what you said. Across the board, statistically, most people, I see no particular facts or evidence, and I'm not sure that I would agree with the collection that you bring forth. So let's look at what's underlying what you're saying, Serene. You're saying that working in organizations. No. You and I know each other well enough. I'm not going to let you go down that bunny hole. You're saying, and then the question you sent me before the interview was, working in organizations worsens mental health. Do you believe that?
Yes. And you were saying that I don't have the stats, right? So I will tell you the stats. The stats is, I think 94% in Singapore and 89% in the US. say that working is a source of their stress. 25% is the number
whoa,
one
whoa,
stress.
whoa. Working is a source of stress. You're now equating with worsens mental health. What if constructive, productive stress is a fundamental component of having mental health, like having a sense of purpose, something that you're committed to, something now. Serene, I'm tussling with you on purpose because I think the way you're using the language is, it's a little bit convoluted. So let's go right to the heart of what you are saying. In some organizations, the culture of that organization could have accumulated in a way through various practices, legacies, traditions, where working in that environment is practically toxic, where it does actually damage people's mental health. But let's be clear that we're talking about certain organizations, not most organizations where human beings work. There are volunteer organizations. There are faith-based organizations. There are community organizations. There are environmental cleanup organizations. People are working, and it is building their mental health. So if you want to talk about what makes an organizational culture toxic or damaging, let's have the conversation. But let's not precede it with a grand claim like most organizations damage most people's mental health. I don't think that kind of a sweeping claim is either defensible or even helpful. What we're looking to do is identify what's not working and work on that.
Well, okay, I agree with you. I mean, I think the whole point of talking about workplace mental health is because I believe that it can be changed, it should be changed. And, it's not as though working in organization, but working in any organization or company equals, bad mental health. But the point is, at the end of the day, whose job is it? Whose job is it? Whose job is it? I just ask you this, right? Like, should organizations even care? I mean, is it even my job to make people healthy? What do you think?
Well,
it's their own problem.
So when you say an organization, organizations are institutions that have evolved out of some accumulation of historical practice. So it might be within a regulated field, and then you have to have certain kinds of departments, et cetera. Or it may be for the sake of production and design, manufacture, distribution, or for maintenance of a certain code base. You need certain skill sets. You need people working together. Once you have people working together, if it's an organization, then you're going to need an HR department. Then you're going to need policies and standards and procedures, et cetera. Now, that accumulates historically into a culture, into a set of practices and traditions. What gets problematic is when the traditions and the standards and the practices start to dictate the way we work now, and we don't frequently and regularly audit the way in which those practices are or are not supporting the mental health of the people who actually work there. And so you can say, well, we have traditions, but do we have a tradition for reviewing and reflecting upon and revising our traditions? Now, if it doesn't happen and it just goes, more and more archaic and more dysfunctional, then what happens in business is somebody goes bankrupt. They go out of business because they're not fluent, and you have the new, fresh competitors attracting the better talent, coming up with new cultures where people want to work, and the old ones simply die away. Where it gets more problematic is in a government situation, where there may not be any competition to come along. And so within, for example, the civil service, it's an even higher need for us to do a self-audit, for us to be willing to challenge our own existing cultures and say, is there a way that we can end up being more effective for our customers, more effective for our internal culture, and be willing to look at the way we do what we do and say, maybe time for a freshening up or a complete change?
Well, I guess two things, right? I mean, the first argument is that organizations, particularly companies, probably not so much the government, but particularly companies, the job is to make money. I mean, my job is not here to make my people happy. And even in governments, arguably, my job is...
Where did you come up with that? Wait a minute. Where did you come up with
Milton Friedman said it. Milton Friedman, job responsibility.
Hold on a second. Milton Friedman and the Chicago School of Economists were the ones who came out very strongly and said the purpose of the organization is to increase shareholder value, not to take care of the employees, not to take care of the environment, not to take care of the community. Sweetie, that's an old era that the world is stepping beyond quickly right now. We know, and if you listen to Jamie Dimon, if you look at the Financial Times, if you look at Davos and you look, business is waking up and saying, no, our job is not just to make money. That is so shallow. That is ancient already. Our job is to have healthy communities. Our job is to develop healthy people, have healthy customers, and work in a healthy ecosystem so that the business itself and the communities where our talent and our customers come from can flourish.
But my question is, can it even be done? I mean, can we even address all these arcade things, right? Especially if you look at the sheer volume of them, B, the whole idea that if it's ain't broke, don't fix it. Do you think it can be done? Johnson was talking about how, you should talk about your engaging service and spirit. But I'm like, Johnson, are you sure? Does this really apply to like normal companies that I work in?
Are you asking me or are you asking Johnson?
No, I'm asking you. Does it work? I mean, this actually real. I mean,
okay,
is it real life?
And it's more severe than that because, as you know, we're living in an era of a particular kind of ecological crisis, catastrophe coming along. And, if we just continue sailing along business as usual, you make that shareholder value, do whatever it takes, more money, the end justifies the means, we realize we're going to be sailing ourselves right over a cliff in a powerboat. So now you ask the question, can the change actually come about? And this is a fabulous question for anybody who's a human being, because being human means you're also being mortal. None of us are going to be here forever. We can talk about our grandchildren's generation, but baby, you ain't going to be around for it. So then the question is, what do you want to do with your life? You can throw up your hands and say, well, we can't change it anyway, so I'm just going to make as much money as I possibly can. But that's where the damage to mental fitness comes from. The alternative is to say, within the world in which I live, the business, the community, the family, the neighborhood, the culture of my company, what can I do to actually make a difference that does matter? And each of us can do something, which might include saying, the culture of this organization is so broken and leadership is so uncommitted to fixing it, it's time for me to go find some other place to work. But if you're committed to stay, then don't just stay and gripe and complain, because then you're part of the problem. Then stay and say, I've chosen to stay, and do what it is that you can, even if it's at a very small level, to actually uplift the spirit of the people you work with, to take better care of the colleagues and the customers who you serve.
Well, then, Johnson has a very good question. So this is from Johnson. What have you done? I love it. I love this question.
Is he asking me or asking you?
Yes. Oh, no, I'm not been awarded the global guru. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
so,
okay. So Johnson, thanks for the question. If you want to know what it is that I have done, I just refer you to social media or the website. You can type in my name. You're going to find me and you'll see what I've done. That's not what I'm interested in talking about. What I'm interested in talking about is, what am I still committed to do? What am I up to? What's the future that I'm dedicating lifetime to promoting and creating and enabling in the world? So I give you an example. Uplifting service is what I've been focused on for 3 decades. How do I help people learn how to create more value for other people? And I wrote the definition. Service is taking action to create value for someone else. Okay, makes sense? And it's worked really well. Now I'm upgrading the definition. Service is taking action to create value for someone you care about. Whoa. Now, hold on a second. That just triggers a whole bigger question, which is, well, what do you mean by care? And so I've now spent the past 4 years researching the human phenomenon of care, not just healthcare. Where does care come from? What does care actually mean? And I couldn't find a simple, workable definition. So you know me, Johnson, I wrote one. And it goes like this. Care is commitment to future well-being. Not just concern like, oh, you poor thing, but it's a commitment to enabling well-being of someone, a community, a customer, of a colleague, of a family member. Commitment to their well-being. Now, why do I say future well-being? because the present moment is in the past. It's in the past. It's in the past. It's part of being human. And when I think about your well-being, Johnson, I want you to feel good about having been here and asked these questions. But I would also want to say, you know what, Johnson, you're the kind of guy that I want to be able to stay in touch with in the future. You're exactly the kind of person who I want to know what it is that I'm doing next, because who knows, we may be able to do something together, or I may be able to inspire you, or your questions may be able to inspire and provoke and guide me. And so, Johnson, please find me on LinkedIn and follow, or go to the website at ronkaufman.com and subscribe, because you are the kind of person that I'm committed to continuing to take care of into the future.
So I'm going to ask you another question. I mean, you talk about care, right? I mean, in companies, at workplaces, you sure? I mean, at home, yeah, sure. You know, you talk about maybe spiritual organizations, non-profit organizations. I'm sure they all care in the company.
Yeah, let me connect this then to the field that I'm known for. So when I was a young man and you go to the service center, what it actually was the repair center. In other words, the thing that was called the service center is where you took the broken lawnmower or the broken washing machine, or, you know, whatever it was. Okay, so that was like service equals repair, spare parts, warranty, that kind of stuff. Then it upgraded to, no, we need to, service means customer satisfaction. And there was a huge focus during the 90s on customer satisfaction, because there was an assumption that a satisfied customer would be a loyal customer. And for a period of time, that was okay. But you know what? Satisfaction became commoditized. A lot of different organizations could satisfy you. And we realized that satisfaction didn't necessarily produce loyalty. So then the field upgraded again, and it became customer experience. Right? That's where the whole customer journey and the end-to-end and the customer life cycle, right? And in between there was this thing called customer delight, which is, you know, moments of magic and amaze the customer. Woo! The problem with that is it was ephemeral. It was too ad hoc. And so then it got even higher to customer loyalty. And we saw net promoter score, and, you know, we want to reduce churn and have repeat behavior. And would you recommend us to a colleague or a friend? And now it's reached the level of customer advocacy, where we want the customer to be an advocate and an ambassador for us and promote us and praise us on social media and in surveys and licks and clikes and all that. And now it's gone to the next level, which is the one I think we're stepping into today, which is genuine customer care. And what is care? It's commitment not only to do what I promise, not only to satisfy you, not only to produce value, but to contribute to your well-being into the future. So you know that I'm here to serve you, and I give a damn about what happens to you next. And I want my employees to feel that as well. And I want the community to feel that about where we happen to be located. And so we are entering the era of authentic customer care, mutual partnership for future well-being.
Well, I mean, I don't know who is this LinkedIn user because I don't see the name, but I think they have, you know, he or she has a very good point. I mean, the way that companies interface with society is money. It's money, right? So should the rest of the society all, like, you know, apply your same value system, you know, just to even be able for this to work?
Well, when you said
whoever is thinking user, sorry, just interrupt.
Yeah,
please type in your name. Yes, go on.
Okay. Well, no, I think this person's name is LinkedIn user. I mean, it's just a very unique name, but nobody else actually has it. A lot of people are called that, but this is Mr. or Miss, you know, LinkedIn user. So thank you for being here and asking the question. Now, you said something very interesting. You said money, right? And I've learned that when people say right, it's what I call a verbal tick. Because what you're doing is you're saying something, then by throwing the word right, you're assuming that I agree with you without a further discussion. In fact, you're treating it like something that is locked down, proven, guaranteed, and now let's have the conversation based on that. But I'm going to dispute what it is you actually said. I don't think it's just money. What are you going to say about the entire healthcare industry? Well, in certain parts of the world, you may be right. They've gone off the rails. And why have they gone off the rails? Because the focus was on money. But if you look, for example, here in Singapore, where you and I live, Serene, and you've got all of the government hospitals, you've got the government polyclinics.
It's not money.
What's the primary objective? The primary objective is not to make money. It's to have a healthy population, a healthy society. And that's what I think that companies are now being challenged to reorient themselves towards.
By the way, it's Luciano. That's his, I presume, a gentleman, Luciano. So yes, I I think this is something that, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because Wayne was asking, he says, that what can we do and create next for others? Interesting idea, but really it's at the end of the day, I mean, what pushes it forward? Is it really what we can do and create for the next others?
Oh, well,
Or
what
would we have
pushes
done the same thing without money? Even
what
here in the healthcare system, I don't know.
what pushes it forward, and it is, I would assume you mean like life, society, humanity, right? The existence of our species on the planet, right? So what pushes it forward is human commitment. It's somebody saying, that matters to me, whatever that may be. That could be the future of a sports team. It could be a particular dance move that's in part of the history and you want to make sure it gets preserved. It could be that you want to develop the new app that will enable people to feel closer with their colleagues and their friends, whatever it may be. But if your version of it does not contribute to future well-being of those that you are treating as customers, those you're taking the money from and doing the transaction with, then you don't deserve to actually survive and thrive. And you may have your moment in the sun, even to the point of abuse. And hopefully then you have legal regulations and you have courts and prosecution that come and haul you into court and find you guilty. And we found that happening in various industries. So the way in which human society has evolved to this point in time is that we have governance, we have rule of law, we have regulations, and we have faith-based communities, and we have community welfare, and we, yes, have capitalist systems of companies that compete with each other for great talent, great customers, great product design, great brand identity. And the challenge is getting bigger and bigger and more challenging every day, because people like you, Serene, are having conversations like this that may have a listener say, maybe I should think twice about how I am at work. Maybe I shouldn't just be the complainer. What can I do? Or maybe I should go find a different place to work because I don't believe that this place can change. Or maybe I've decided I'm going to stay where I am and I don't think it's going to change that much, but you know what? I'm going to make it different for every customer that I serve. I'm going to give them the experience that they actually deserve. Or maybe you just say, I'm just going to do my job. I'm here. But when I go home from my work, I'm going to bring my best self out. And I'm going to make sure that my family has a great experience and they know that I care about their future well-being.
So paint us a picture. I mean, what to you will be an uplifting? I mean, what is your vision of this uplifting workplace that you're talking about? I mean, what does it look like? If I say, I work in a company, I'm a company peon. What does it feel like? What does it look like?
You wouldn't come in and feel like a company peon in the first place. Okay.
Right.
That anybody who's working at the front line would be incredibly well respected by those who have higher levels of education or title or authority or pay. I think that during this COVID era, all of us have been kind of woken up to the incredible importance of frontline service providers, whether it be the police or the delivery people or the cleaners or the people who are right at the front line of whatever area of life it is. They are human beings and they deserve 100% as much respect as anybody else in any other position, sometimes more so, because they're the ones that are getting up early and working late. They're the ones who don't get the pat on the back because of the wonderful position of authority that you may have.
Johnson agreed, doesn't agree. And I actually agree with Johnson. It's like, you know what? This is a great idea. It's not happening. Customer loyalty, customer value, making money is the whole point, right? It's, I mean, even
there, you did it again. You did it again. You did it
right?
again. Come on, Serene. Come on. I have a higher standard for you in conversation with me. You can't throw out money is the thing, right? No. Human life is the thing. Quality of experience of being alive. Got news for everybody. You're not going to be here forever. So then what are you doing here? Suffering as a peon until you get to the end? Just trying to be he who dies with the most toys wins? You think the biggest bank account is going to mean that your life had the most meaning for you or for anybody else? Come on. We are alive in a very vibrant, dynamic era. Mother Nature is coming up to bat, boom. And like we're all waking up to the fact that the way we've been doing it is not the best way to continue doing it. The question then is, what are you committed to help improve? What are you committed to help change or to create? Not just sit back and gripe and moan from the bleachers and throw your popcorn down on the field.
And if I am just an individual leader, I mean, I'm not some powerful CEO. What can I actually do?
You can come to work committed, since this is, at work in terms of where you started this whole conversation, to say that in any interaction I am part of, I'm going to make it a point to A, bring the best possible mood that I can into the conversation in the first place. B, be sensitive to the way in which my participation affects other people. In other words, if I go in and I'm in a bad mood and I leave and other people are in a worse mood than they were when they came in, I shouldn't have gone to the meeting, and I should take responsibility for that. If I'm going to send somebody an email, I can just send them the fact, like what the email is about, but I could also say, hey, hope you're having a good day. Or I could sign off with, hey, P.S., got any other questions? Feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help. If I've got a supplier I'm paying the money, they're earning money from me, right? I'm the customer, but I could still take the moment to say, you know what? I just want to say, thanks very much for being one of our suppliers. It's your help that enables us to succeed. For example, that little video that you played when we started this live broadcast, right? You were praising the company, Offio, that had created that. You were making such good gossip about them. They don't even know that it's happening, but you feel good because you did it. And here I am now helping to promote it. Why? Because you made me feel good when I heard it, so then I can pass it on. And I think that's what's most important, right?
Well, Wayne obviously agrees with you. He's talking about, the ultimate otherness, right? The thinking about a future well-being of others around you. And no?
Wayne,
he's going to disagree with you, Wayne. Watch it.
Hold on. I didn't only say others. I said commitment to future well-being of whomever you serve. That includes you, baby. That includes you. So when you say it's other, I'm not turning myself into a sacrificial lamb. I know that where I get my juice from, where I get my joy from, where I'm going to get my money from is being with other people. So when I devote myself to the future well-being of, it's the future that we share. Now I can identify that with a particular customer or a colleague or a company or a community or a country or a world.
Well, he's actually agreed with you. He's like, if we go in and we've gotten the wrong mood, then obviously we should have gone in. Can I say that applies to 90% of the meetings I've had in my life, I think.
Well,
yes,
but that's the challenge about you, Serene. I mean, like you kind of start out with like, "What's wrong around here? What's going on?"
Yes.
But you do it with this big smile, and you've got this name, Serene.
Well, you seem to have even won over Johnson, who says that, he feels that you have made a difference. Oh, come on, Johnson. Are you giving in already? And that you are, to think differently, to act locally, and that this is something that we can all do as a movement. I mean, as you know, I do conscious business. I consult with companies, I coach leaders, and this is really my message, right? Which is that you can think differently, you can act differently, and you can save the planet while you do your regular work. Yes, really.
Let me just say something about that, right? The planet doesn't need saving. The planet is fine. The planet will be here long after we're gone. It's humanity that needs a kind of a rescue mission right now, okay? So then it's all hands on deck. Everybody has a responsibility to do their part. Since you mentioned this thing about mood and going to meetings, et cetera, one of my favorite quotes was from a former managing director, I believe, of IKEA here in Singapore. And somebody said to him, well, sometimes I just don't feel like coming to work. And he replied and he said, if you don't feel like coming to work, don't.
Okay. And what should they do instead?
Stay home.
Stay home, chill,
because
relax.
If you don't feel like coming to work, then your coming to work is going to be part of the problem that you say we have at work. But actually, You've just self-identified as part of the problem. Stay home. When you feel like coming to work, come to work. Now you can help the rest of us work together to make the workplace a better place.
Those of you who are listening in, like, type it in. Do you agree with this? Like, if you don't feel like coming to work, don't. And are there any like repercussions? I was sitting here thinking, like, are there any repercussions on companies? Or
Sure, you might get fired. Hey, Serene, you might get fired. But a company that has a person who comes to work consistently in a bad mood and brings other people down should fire that person if they are committed to actually continuing to thrive and grow. They have to look out for their own future well-being as well.
Well, Wayne has typed in that he absolutely agrees. He quit his job 6 years ago for the exact same reason. Good for you, Wayne. Yes. Well, Johnson says that's really optimistic. He is, I tell you, Johnson, Ron is the most optimistic person I know in my life, bar none. Yes. And he says it's mind-blowing and it is contagious.
Okay. Hold on. Thank you for the compliment. I heard it as a compliment. I want to say something here about the word optimistic. I wouldn't say that I'm like, oh, everything's going to be great. That's an optimist. Neither, of course, am I a pessimist. No, I would say that I have a pragmatic, realistic view of what's going on in the world, but boy, am I committed. I'm committed to doing what this human being can while he has the privilege of being here, especially when I look at the vast amount of privilege that I've had, the grace of living in the course of this life. So whether it was being born in the United States of America, living almost my entire adult life in the amazing country of Singapore, having a profession where, I've been part of the ecological problem, flying all over the planet, having the privilege of being able to pick up a microphone and address hundreds and sometimes thousands of people, being able to come up with an idea like uplifting service and be alive in an era where there's this kind of technology where we can share it with the world, be able to come up with another idea like uplifting care and having, fan club audience around the world, wonderful people like you that say, come on, Ron, tell the world what you think, to be able to continue to develop together. I owe this world 1,000% times whatever it is that came to me. Why? Because everybody else deserves the kind of, leg up, hand up, encouraging optimistic, there's optimism for you, of what they could become. About what other human beings could become, I am optimistic.
Thank you very much for the clarification. And I think Luciano agrees. Luciano says that those people who focus on their values, focus on the people, focus on environmental, they do better. I mean, statistically, they do 10 times better over the course of 20 years. Mm-hmm. But he says that, it's a life change that they've got to approach, right? So what is the key component? I mean, do you agree that this is a key component, your mindset?
Oh, this is a huge component. And, it's interesting when you say it's a life change. I mean, the number of people who've received life-threatening medical diagnoses and go through it, cancer patients who beat it, for example, or people who have, horrific accidents and lose limbs or lose sight, whatever. And the number of them years later who say it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Like, not that I would wish it on anybody, but what happened there? There was this profound interruption that caused them to reflect and reconsider and rejuvenate and recreate themselves for the future. Now, it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be like that. But you can turn it around if you're willing to be responsible and honest with yourself about when a bad mood exists. You may not have been the person who said, now I'm going to generate a bad mood for myself. I mean, look, sometimes we walk into meetings and you can already feel there's a bad mood. Sometimes there's an era in which there's this kind of a bad mood bubbling underneath the surface, but you still have the God-given ability here to be able to say, well, what am I going to do about that? Am I going to let that mood just continue to carry me along in the drift until, well, now I found myself in a different mood? Or am I going to take responsibility to, number one, recognize the moods I'm in, take responsibility for cultivating good moods. Watch what you eat. Stop eating crap. Get enough sleep. Get out and exercise. Breathe fresh air. Spend your time with other people who are moving in the direction you want to move in. Right? Cultivate good moods. And then eventually you can learn to actually orchestrate moods. with other people. I mean, you know, you obviously, Serena and I have been tussling here because I'm not going to let her take this conversation down the familiar path of, oh, workplaces suck, don't they? Right?
Well, I mean, I now have somebody who is taking over Johnson's mantle. Chamara has said that no, I don't think we can just like not go if we don't want to. I mean, even if the workplace suck, because guess what? We'll lose our job. And guess what? Most of us can't afford to lose our job, especially if we are frontliners. Yeah.
Great. Then go to work and be aware that if what you allow yourself to do is indulge in griping, then that place the next day you don't want to go to, you contributed to it.
Well,
you know that phrase, you made the bed, now sleep in it.
Well, but I think that there is some merit to saying that, you know, I walk in and it is a toxic environment. And hey, I mean, I don't know about you, Ron, but I often feel like a peon. And like, you know, as a peon, I sometimes feel helpless. I feel that I'm limited in my ability to change. I'm limited in my ability to affect it. And it's not like I can just throw in the letter. I haven't got that much privilege going for me. Yep. What do I do?
I agree with you. You're limited. You're limited. You're limited. So is everybody. In other words, we are all dealing with certain limitations of what our competency, what our physical health, what our skills, what our available time allow us to do in the world. Within those limitations, can you be a contributor? You're a peon, you're in what you call a toxic environment, but maybe then you make a commitment that, you know, but the few people that you actually do work with there at the front line in the real grunt situation, at that level, you're not going to be the Debbie Downer, as they call it. You're not going to be the one that's who's doing nothing to help bring the mood up, even within a very limited space. And when somebody says, I can't even do that, then you've abdicated all responsibility. And then at that point, you know, you're the one who needs that life moment where you realize, yeah, maybe it sucks so bad that I just don't want to live that way anymore. Time for me to turn it around.
Well, I mean, your recently converted friend Johnson agrees. He says, you know, we were created to be happy, but we have spoiled the environment. Like we have gone in there.
Now, hold on a second. God created us to be happy.
Your friends now. Oh my.
Johnson, now I'm taking you on, brother. Okay. You know, God created us to be happy is a point of view. In the Declaration of Independence, I'm not saying that that's the Bible. I'm just saying it's an example of a very, very seminal document for the United States. It said it's the pursuit of happiness that is a God-given liberty. The pursuit of happiness. And what I'm saying is, you know, maybe the sense of being, quote, happy isn't, I'm so joyful all the time, my whole life, that's the purpose of life. No, maybe it's that I feel like I'm making a difference. I'm committed to something. There's a purpose in my life. There's something that I care about. There's someone that I care about. There's a commitment that I'm dedicated to making happen. And it's in the pursuit of that we actually feel our best.
Well, I guess Wayne has completely agreed with you. He's like, you know, if you're dragging yourself to work, exit stage left. And actually he has even gotten like, he's even totally like talking about, you know, sometimes you can lose your job, just like what you're talking about, right? Losing your feet, losing your hands. And that can be the best thing possible for you.
I'm not recommending it. I'm thinking that there's plenty that you can do right there. And by the way, I gotta ask, wait.
No, Wayne is even like acting as what you said. He just threw his KFC dinner because you talked about bad food, right? Oh, come on. No, that's a diehard fan.
Now, if I was you, I would have taken that chicken and at least gone down and found a cat. you know, and fed with that.
Also, pass the bad health on to the cat. Oh, come on, Ron.
So I got to ask you a
Gets
question.
better.
Serene, there's a question you sent me before this interview when we were just kind of lining it up, and I didn't quite understand it. It's question number 3. You said, how can we address organizational drag? And I thought to myself, well, why don't you just let people wear whatever they want to wear? And what's the issue?
No, but I tell you honestly, like, how many of us think about going to the organization and we are dragging ourselves there?
Well,
and
we've talked about
that you need to do.
we've talked about this.
Yes. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Right. I think we got time for one more.
Yes. One last question. I mean, let me see. Is this a question? No.
Hold on.
Hold on. Sorry. Okay, let me read it out. If you feel the environment is toxic or unsuitable for you, don't stay too long. Figure out where you really want to be and what you really want to do, and then plan and take action how to get there towards self-actualization. Shape up or shape up?
Yeah, let me just say that I like the way you said that, Wayne, a lot. I want to change one thing. It's not so much figure out where you really want to be or what you really want to. I mean, you're so. Maybe let me just add one more word to there. It's like, what do you want to become? What do you want to become? And I'll wrap this up with an example in my own life. Very often when I'm introduced to give a speech or whatever, somebody will talk about, he did this, he wrote that, he became this, he won that award. That's all in the past. When I think about introducing myself to people today, I want to talk about what I'm up to, what I'm interested in, what I'm curious about, what I'm committed to, where I'm putting my time, attention, team, resources, and effort to help contribute and make a difference. That pulls me forward. That is worth becoming. And by the way, it'll contribute to the well-being of others as well as me. Dr. Philip Mary.
Philip is now in the fray. So even when we are in a low mood, we as consultants are committed to build the world.
Philip's not in the fray. Philip is the fray.
Well, Chamara was driving and stopped to reply and said she agrees with you, that you need to train your mind to face happiness and that it is, it's your responsibility.
There you go. Thank you, Sharma.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a beautiful way to wrap up this conversation. Thanks to everybody who's here, Philip and Johnson and Luciano. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Serene, a special appreciation.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you so much, John. John. Thank you so much, Ron. I've had so much discussion. I'm out of my mind. But yes, thank you very much. This is meant to be a half an hour conversation, and I think we have almost hit 45 minutes now.
Well, we could have kept going.
Thank you so much.
The beautiful thing we could have kept going. The beautiful thing is we can keep going with conversations for the rest of our lives. And as long as we are alive, we will be in conversations. And in conversations is where moods get discovered and created. So take responsibility for the ones that you're going to be in from here on in and contribute to the well-being of the world.
Yes. And for those of you who want to connect with Ron, this is his LinkedIn, as well as his website, just ronkaufman.com. So please do connect with him, especially Johnson. He's waiting for your message. Yes. And next week, if you want to join me again, I will be speaking to a very senior leader, Brian Henderson, who has gone through his own journey of workplace mental health, his own breakdown. And now he's working to help organizations, exactly what you say, to build up better and to build up right. Okay. So until next time, see you again, guys. Bye.
All the best, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.